you're seeing a lot of the videos going around about the Houston Rodeo, just know next year, whatever strict ass rules they enforce, I 100% fully support that, because y'all, that shit is out of line. Like, that shit is embarrassing for us. Like, that shit don't make no sense. And I'm talking about whatever rules, from the way you dress. And yes, women, you know what the hell I'm talking about.
I'm outside at the rodeo, and a new ick has been unlocked. When you see a girl with like shorts on or a skirt, and the bottom of her ass cheeks are hanging out of the skirt or shorts, that shit is an ick. Why do you need attention that bad?
All right, so we got to talk about what looks like yet another case of what I like to call ghetto fatigue. And this time it's happening at the Houston Rodeo, because if you've been paying attention, you already know I talk about this before. The so-called EBT community has basically decided that Houston is the new hotspot for spring break. And let me be very clear before people start twisting my words when I say EBT community. I'm not talking about people who genuinely need temporary help to get back on their feet. I'm all for that. That's what a safety net is supposed to be. But what I'm talking about is a mindset, a culture of people who have turned government assistance into a lifestyle, people who do just enough to game the system. And what I mean by game the system, maybe they work a little bit just to get a W-2 so they can file taxes at the end of the year and get that big refund, but they're not working 40 hours a week consistently. They're not trying to build anything. And we all know how the system is set up. The less you make, the more you often get back. While the people who are actually working year round, paying more into the system, they don't see those same benefits. And if you're working paycheck to paycheck, you probably don't even qualify for food stamps, aka EBT. But somehow the people doing the least end up getting the most help, and that's the problem, because it creates it creates a preserved incentive structure where they're preserving a structure where you're basically incentivized and responsibility is punished and dependency is rewarded, as I like to call it, the government daddy. And yeah, they have been attempts to put some guardrails on that, like requiring people to do some type of level of work, like community service if they're receiving benefits, because nothing in life is supposed to be free. But there are still loopholes. People know how to play the game. They work just enough to qualify for a tax refund at the end of the year, then back off so they don't lose their benefits when it comes to food stamps and stuff. So when that tax refund hits, instead of using that money to improve their situation, pay off debt, invest in education, build credit, actually move forward in life, they blow it, they go out, they travel, they party, they buy clothes to impress people who don't care about them, and they show up to places acting like they never been anywhere before in their life. No home training, no sense of respect for the environment they're in. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. Because when you concentrate that mindset in one place, what do you get? You get chaos, you get fights, you get destruction, you get violence, sometimes even shootings. And we've seen this play out before. Miami dealt with it and eventually had to crack down hard. So now the crowd just shifts location, and Houston is the new spot. And one of the main places they're showing up to is the Houston Rodeo, which is supposed to be a family friendly event. You got kids there, families there, people just trying to enjoy themselves. And now you got individuals showing up dressed like they're going to a nightclub or a strip club, wearing booty shorts, revealing outfits, treating it like it's some kind of hoedown in the worst sense of the word, in the worst sense of the word. And it's creating a lot of backlash online because people are looking at this and saying, hold on, this is not appropriate. This is not the environment for that. You got young girls out here with everything hanging out, and people are asking a very simple question. When did we stop having standards? When did we stop having basic respect for public spaces? And we all know exactly where a lot of this outrage is being directed. Hit the like button, share the video, and subscribe to the channel, and check this out.
I went to the rodeo last night for Shabuzi, and the outfits were the absolute worst I've ever seen them. Like, y'all do know that children are eye level with your bare ass when you wear these insane outfits, right? Like, I literally saw someone wearing chaps with just like a thong underneath. There's kids who are eye level with your entire ass. And by the way, it's never like an ass you want to see. Just saying. It's really gotten to a point where they have to they have to enforce a dress code. Like, there's no two ways around it. The outfits are getting worse and worse by the day. What happened to the fingertip rule? Like, what happened to like trying to wear something that was, you know, at your fingertip length when you have your arms down next to your side? What happened to dressing with like a tiny bit of decorum in class? And the bigger issue comes in when like, it's never just one body part that's showing. Like, if you have to show one, pick one. I don't need to see all of them. Like, you guys, I don't think you guys understand. Would I get in trouble on TikTok if I like posted photos of people? Like, that's probably so rude, but I don't think people who don't go to the rodeo and don't live in Texas understand the magnitude and the gravity of how bad and trashy and tacky and quite frankly disgusting some of these outfits are.
Maybe I'm more conservative than I thought I was, because the videos and pictures I've seen from the rodeo this year of people using ash cheeks as an accessory have appalled and disgusted me. And I love ass as an accessory. I went to the Cardi B concert last week, so much ass shaking, there was an ass quake. And I keep seeing people comment saying, well, children go to Mardi Gras and they're just fine. Yeah, because when you go to Mardi Gras, you expect to see ass cheeks. I'm going to a Cardi B concert, I expect to see ass cheeks. I'm going to a Mardi Gras parade, I expect to see ass cheeks. I'm going to an event that is founded and exists to fund children's education. I shouldn't see your ass cheeks. Act like you've been here before. Have some decorum and put on some damn clothes.
Native Houstonian here. Don't tell us how we should feel about the rodeo that we've been going to since we were children and our parents have been going to since they were children. The rodeo is a children-friendly event. It is a family-friendly event. All that money that's spent at the rodeo gets donated to children's organizations. It's a fundraiser. I literally just saw someone say, well, after dark, kids don't need to be out there. Bitch, you're an out-of-towner. Don't tell us where to bring our kids to our event that we've been going to since we were fucking kids, bitch. Because when we were kids, guess what? We were there after dark. You know why? Because it's a child-friendly event. It's one of the few events that children are actually welcome after dark. I saw someone else saying, well, it's not a kid-friendly event because they have alcohol. Okay, they have alcohol at Astros games. Does that mean you can't bring your kids to an Astros game? Of course, there are some things for the parents, but overall, it is a child-friendly event. It is a family-friendly event. Just because they serve beer and wine doesn't mean that you're not allowed to bring your children and it's not a family-friendly event. They have mutton busting at the rodeo. It's a carnival. They have piglet races. Like, they have face painting. Like, it is a family-focused event. It is a fundraiser for children's organizations. I don't need any out-of-towners using their out-of-town tacky ghetto bullshit as a guideline for how the rodeo is supposed to operate. From sun up to sundown, it's a child-friendly event. Alcohol or no alcohol, it's a child-friendly event. Dress and act accordingly.
Houston, Texas, something needs to be done. Okay, next year there needs to be some rules for the rodeo. Okay, you cannot come in unless you are 18 and older or with a parent, because the amount of teenagers and kids there were yesterday who really messed that fair up. I mean, the fair shut down for a minute. They stopped all the rides until they got everything under control. It was insane. I've never seen that many people at the rodeo, ever. At least in one, like, it was just so much, y'all. I had a panic attack. There were horses and policemen in the middle of the crowd trying to get the crowd under control. People were running. What are y'all running for? Trying to cause stampedes. Stampedes unalive people. Do y'all know that? Stop doing that. There were so many kids. I have a 15-year-old. There were so many kids there her age. I never want to be in that environment ever again. Like, when I tell y'all so many fights broke out last night, I'm pretty sure y'all see it all over TikTok. I was there. It was insane. Insane.
I don't care what anybody says, but what I wore to the Houston Rodeo should have been the least of y'all concern. And I told myself I wasn't going to respond to the negative comments, but I'm going to put this out there because I'm going to defend myself since I'm getting so many nasty, hateful, and really mean comments. So this was the outfit I wore, and I posted a walking video, and for some reason it ended on the wrong side of TikTok, and now I'm being personally attacked for it. Number one, I was wearing American Eagle shorts to the rodeo. I did not search up butt cheek shorts. I did not get any shorts from a boutique. I got them from American Eagle, and I know a lot of people shop there. Number two, my behind was not out. When you're walking, obviously things are going to rise up, which happens to me because I am not slim. I am not skinny in the back. Naturally, when I walk, things rise up. I did not buy those shorts so that they could rise up on the back of
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that, and now the backlash is very real to the point where the Houston Rodeo itself had to step in and say, all right, enough is enough. We're going to start cracking down on this behavior. And let's be honest, what they're really saying here is they're saying we're not going to allow this, which is clearly ghetto, disruptive, attention seeking behavior, to take over a space that was never meant for that in the first place. This is supposed to be a family friendly event. You got parents bringing their kids, people coming out to enjoy the culture, the food, the shows, the tradition, all of it. And instead, what they're getting is people showing up dressed like they're headed to a nightclub in Miami, barely any clothes on, treating the whole environment like it's some kind of street party. And it got so out of hand that the organizers had no choice but to respond publicly and say we are updating and actually enforcing the dress code, which honestly should not even need to be said. But here we are in 2026, where basic standards have to be written out and written down and enforced because people refuse to carry themselves with any level of awareness or respect. And this is what always happens, I should say. I was about to say actually happens, but always happens when you allow that mindset to go unchecked. It starts small. People push the boundaries, nobody says anything, and then the next thing you know, the entire environment is transformed into something it was never intended to be. So now in the Houston Rodeo is stepping up, right? The Houston Rodeo is stepping up, trying to restore
Rodeo
order.
Houston is asking you to take
One
a
second,
second
family.
look
The Houston Rodeo is
in
stepping
the
up, trying to
mirror
restore
before
order,
attending as they have
preserve,
updated their dress.
trying to preserve what that event is supposed to represent. And of course, that is going to upset some people who think they should be able to show up however they want, act however they want, and face no consequences. But that's not how a functioning society works. You don't get to impose your lack of standards onto everyone else and then get mad when people push back. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into this and really break down what's happening here and why this matters more than people want to admit.
Dress code.
ABC 13's Liliana Pearson spent the day talking to
1 second, family.
attendees and the rodeo CEO to find out what the change.
Rodeo Houston is asking you to take a second look in the mirror before attending as they have updated their dress code.
ABC 13's Liliana Pearson spent the day talking to attendees and the rodeo CEO to find out what the changes are and how they're going to enforce it.
This may be a rodeo and livestock event, but it's also the perfect place to do some people watching as we all come dressed to impress. But now that perfect rodeo themed outfit might need a makeover, as rodeo officials say they have made changes to their code of conduct. This comes after an onslaught of social media posts about what some people are choosing to wear.
Boots, hats, and denim. If you're attending Rodeo Houston, the fashion is one of the first things you'll notice inside the gates. But the fashion has evolved over time. Some attendees say for the worse.
I mean, if you really want to keep it family friendly, I would suggest coming in like earlier, before 4-ish, between 10 to 4 would be a good time to, experience it with your family, appropriately, sure.
Rodeo CEO and President Chris Bowman says after a spike in feedback on clothing choices, they decided to listen and updated their dress code.
I think it's about making sure your skin is covered to a great extent, making sure that what you put on as you think about a 9 or 8-year-old looking at you, would it be appropriate? Would they be asking questions?
New rodeo guidelines say they can deny admission or remove people wearing clothing with obscene images and language, excessively torn clothes, visible undergarments, or clothing that exposes portions of skin that may be considered inappropriate for a family environment. Bowman says what is and isn't appropriate is subjective. Miona Graves with Texas Southern University says subjective rules can create problems when it comes to enforcing rules equitably.
But if we're just going off of eyesight, how do we say what is too short? How do we say what is too revealing? If someone has like a mesh top on, do we say that that's too revealing, or where do we draw the lines?
Graves says more clearly defined rules on what is and isn't okay could help ensure everyone is being treated fairly. Bowman says they aren't looking to single anyone out and trust the people enforcing the code of conduct.
We feel very confident in the security that we have on site with different levels of security around the grounds to be able to address it, just like we would address anything that happens here every single day and night.
I'm Liliana Pearson, ABC 13.
Look, this is not complicated, and I'm tired of people pretending like it is, because we all know what appropriate looks like. We all know what inappropriate looks like. You don't need a 50-page rule book to figure this out. It's common sense. If I could see your cheeks hanging out, it's too short, period. If most of your chest is exposed, it's too much. If 80 to 90% of your body is on display, you're not dressed for a public family friendly environment. And everybody knows it. We don't need to play this game where we act confused because I went to a private college prep, Catholic school. And there were standards, there were clear expectations. And guess what? People followed them. The guys had to wear, Eastland shoes, button up shirts, ties, khakis, and sometimes the full school jacket, depending on the season. And the girls had to wear stockings, skirts, sweaters, and those rules were enforced. And if the stockings were ripped and showing skin, that was a problem. If the skirt was too high, where it was riding up and exposing more than it should, that was unacceptable. No debate, no excuses. You got sent home or you got disciplined. And you know what that did? It created an environment where people carried themselves with a level of respect, not just for themselves, but for the space they were in. And that's what we're missing here. Because now we got people acting like grown people, acting like any attempt to set a standard is somehow oppression. Like asking you to cover up at a family event is some violation of your rights, when in reality, it's just basic decency. It's about understanding there's a time and a place for everything. If you want to dress a certain way, there are environments for that. Nobody is stopping you. But when you step into a space where children are present, where families are gathered, where the expectation is a certain level of decorum, then yeah, the standard changes and it should. And the idea that we even have to argue about this shows you how far the culture has slipped. Because again, we can all see it, we can all feel it, we all know when something crosses the line. People just don't want to admit it because accountability is uncomfortable, unfortunately, family. But now I want to show you guys something that I found very, very, very interesting in regards to this article here when it comes to the new dress code, as you guys heard the news report. So, individuals are basically saying, as you guys see in this article, Houston Rodeo's new dress code raises concerns around discrimination. Dress codes have historically been used to discriminate against people of color. As it reads, the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo instituted a new dress code as part of its updated code of conduct, which took effect immediately after it was announced Tuesday. The swift implementation came after online discourse reached a fever pitch with tweets and TikTok videos complaining about a growing trend of inappropriate outfits on the rodeo grounds. Dressing up in your best Western wear is part of the experience for many. Still, there has been a growing chatter about folks taking their outfits too far, showing up in clothes that many find too risky for an event that is supposed to be family friendly. Although many have praised the rodeo's decision to crack down on revealing Western inspired wear, there are concerns that the dress code could be used to disproportionately discriminate against people of color. Dress codes have a history of being used in bars and clubs to discriminate against people of color. For example, last summer, Houston City Council member Edward Pollard proposed an amendment requiring nightclubs and dance halls with dress codes to clearly post the policy at their entrances after he and city controller Chris Hollins were denied entry into a midtown establishment. The rodeo's new rules prohibit and remove anyone from the grounds who is deemed to be dressed in outfits that could detract from the experience with other guests. Exposed undergarments and excessive amounts of skin are both cited as factors determining if an outfit meets family friendly requirements. Hypothetically, if someone makes another individual or family attending a rodeo uncomfortable, they could potentially have them removed from the rodeo. Will the rodeo staff, largely made up of a volunteer workforce, be trained to determine what's appropriate and what's not? The dress code could find itself treading a fine line in determining who is allowed to wear what. Could you be escorted out because your jean shorts show too much leg? The new dress code also outlawed any visible tattoos, clothing, or other indicators of gang affiliation like insignia or jewelry on rodeo grounds. This part of the updated conduct policy is a clear response to the trend of fights breaking out at the rodeo, which caused the event to shut down early this past weekend and forced the rodeo to beef up security. This set of rules once again begs the question, how would a rodeo determine if someone is in a gang? Will the staffers and security have the knowledge to determine this at the door, or will focus on young black and brown rodeo goers not in cowboy attire? So yeah, guys, you guys see the article right here as the headline, as it says, as it reads. Now, so you seen this, you heard it, you read it with me. Now that you got certain outlets and people online whining and crying about accountability, which it sounds like to me, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. But look, they're trying to rebrand it as discrimination, as you see in this title of the article, which to me is absolutely mind blowing, because how do we get to the point in this country where asking grown adults to put some clothes on at a family friendly event is somehow considered racist or discriminatory? That doesn't even make sense on its face, because what we're really looking at here is a refusal to take responsibility for behavior. And instead of correcting the behavior, the move is to cry foul and throw out buzzwords and run into the victim Olympics like racism, discrimination, and oppression, all because an event said, hey, we actually have standards here. We actually care about how we present ourselves to the public, and we're not going to let that get dragged down. And I was always taught growing up that you are a reflection of how you were raised. You represent your family, you represent your community. And if even something as simple as how you dress says a lot about you. And I remember being in school, making sure the uniform was clean, neat, and presentable, because that wasn't just about rules. It was about discipline. It was about self-respect. And it actually builds confidence when you carry yourself out the right way. Not when you're walking around looking for validation with barely any clothes on. And that's the bigger issue here. There have to be standards, because when you remove standards, people with no home training will go completely buck wild, rogue. And that's just reality. And requiring people to dress appropriately out of respect for themselves and for others around them is not targeting any specific group. It is color agnostic. It applies to everybody equally. But here's the uncomfortable truth that a lot of people don't want to say out loud. When you go online and you look at the conversation, people are noticing patterns. They're noticing behavior. They're noticing who is showing up and how they're showing up, especially with this spring break crowd coming into Houston. And instead of addressing that behavior, the deflection is to call it racism. When in reality, maybe, just maybe, it's not racism. It's not hate. It's not bigotry. Maybe it's people putting a spotlight on themselves by how they choose to present themselves in public. Because if you're going everywhere like it's a strip club, if you don't understand that there's a difference between a nightclub and a family event, then yeah, people are going to say something about it. And that's not discrimination. That's social standards. And what the Houston Rodeo is doing is not targeting anyone. It's brand protection. That's exactly what it is, because you cannot allow people, especially people coming in from out of town, to completely change the atmosphere of your event and ruin what you built over time. People come to the rodeo for a certain experience, just like if they were to go to a place like Ruth Chris, right? Ruth Chris for a certain experience. There's an expectation. It's a restaurant, and the expectation is quality of class, of environment, where you allow that to be disrupted. Your core audience, the people who actually support you year after year, they're going to stop showing up, right? Ruth Chris, the same thing is supposed to be the quorum of not only a luxurious, but also a classfulness of an experience, right? To basically dress up with your best gear, right? Your suit or some type of professional business, or just classy, outgoing, dress up nice type of outing and type of environment and type of restaurant, right? So when you look at that and you look at, if you disrupt your core audience, meaning your core customer base, when it comes to Ruth Chris and the Houston Rodeo, the people who actually support you year after year, they're going to stop showing up. They're going to go somewhere else, and now your entire brand takes a hit. So if you don't want your event to turn into chaos, if you don't want it to turn into one of these situations that people start avoiding, then yes, you have to enforce standards. You have to draw the line. And if people don't like it, they don't have to come. It's really that simple, because at the end of the day, this isn't about race. This isn't about discrimination. This is about accountability, self-respect, and understanding there is a time and a place for everything. And if you can't meet that standard, then maybe that space just isn't for you. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Make sure you like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear this, subscribe to the channel, and turn on all your post notifications so you don't miss the next one. Catch you in the next one, family. Love you guys. Peace.